If you've been a 3D artist for a long time, you know that this field is constantly changing. Basically every few years, we are seeing new tools and capabilities. And if you're not taking advantage of these new things, you could be wasting your time and effort. Also, if you're new to 3D, this video might introduce you to new software and concepts that have been changing in the 3D industry, at least in the last decade. I would like to start with one of the biggest changes in animation, which is the arrival of AI-assisted animation tools. Software like Cascador introduce systems that help you as an artist or an animator automatically calculate realistic motion. I mean by that, instead of manually adjusting every keyframe, the software can analyze body physics and suggest corrections for balance, weight distribution, and timing. So if a character jumps or lands, the AI can detect whether the motion looks physically believable and automatically adjust the pose. But this doesn't replace animators in any way. It just removes the painful technical parts. So instead of spending hours fixing foot sliding, or center of gravity issues, or even awkward transitions, you as an animator can focus on the creative side of animation. And software such as Cascador can help you deal with that. And tools like this are essentially acting as a smart assistants, helping you as an animator work faster, while still maintaining control over the final performance. And something that goes along with animation is character creation. If you created any character before, you know how hard it can be. And for many, this would be a massive project by itself. Building a realistic human character requires modeling, sculpting, retopology, rigging, skin shading, hair setup, so on and so forth. But today tools like Character Creator, MetaHuman, and other character generators can drastically compress the process. And if you're using Blender, you also have add-ons like Human Generator Ultimate, which has been around for years now. And these tools are great, especially if your characters are not super detailed or not super custom made. And with these tools as an artist, you can generate production-ready characters in minutes or hours instead of weeks. You see, these tools come with pre-built rigs, realistic skin shaders, facial animation systems, and high-quality topology. So instead of building everything from scratch, you can start with a solid base and then customize it. And for many artists and studios, these mixed characters can be created quickly for games, cinematics, or background roles, which can honestly save you a huge amount of time. Another thing I want to mention is photogrammetry and 3D scanning in general, which honestly changed the way you can capture real-world details. The interesting thing is that photogrammetry has been around for many years, and it is often relied on more than you think in creating environments for video games and films. Like, you wouldn't imagine how good it is, and also how effective it can be. Of course, minus the cleanup and the hardware headaches in addition to other things. So instead of modeling complex objects by yourself, by hand I mean, as a 3D artist, you can take hundreds of photos of real objects, like rocks, statues, buildings, you name it, and reconstruct it into a highly detailed 3D model. The software analyzes the images and generates geometry and textures automatically, and now it is really affordable, because you can even do it on your phone. And this approach can save you an enormous amount of time. I mean, entire environments can now be built using scanned assets, rather than manually sculpted ones. And studios working on games and films often build huge libraries of scanned objects, from plants to ruins to city elements, allowing you to populate scenes incredibly quickly, while still maintaining realistic detail. Also, just 10 or 15 years ago, as a 3D artist, you had to wait for renders constantly. You would tweak a light, hit render, wait for a few minutes, and then see the result. And if you want to do it faster, funny enough, you would select just a rectangle in the render to get a glimpse of what you're rendering, if you want to be fast that is. But modern real-time render engines and GPU-accelerated viewports changed that workflow completely. I mean, engines like Eevee, Arnold GPU Renderer, Redshift, V-Ray, and Octane, in addition to other render engines, allow you to see lighting and materials update almost instantly. And as you can imagine, this dramatically speeds up iteration. So now as an artist, you can experiment freely with lighting, shading, and composition because feedback is immediate. The problem has become very simple. Instead of guessing what the final render will look like, you see it almost in real time. And the result, you can make decisions faster, and of course, much less time is wasted waiting for renders, which I think is the whole point in the first place. Also, one of the major shifts in 3D is procedural workflows, which is another huge leap in productivity. You see, in older days, manually building everything piece by piece was the norm, and this is what you were expected to do as a 3D artist. But now, this is not always the case. Nowadays, you can define rules and systems that generate geometry automatically. Node-based systems like Houdini networks or even Blender geometry nodes allow you to create entire environments using procedural setups. For example, instead of modeling hundreds of buildings one by one, you can build a procedural city generator, change a few parameters, and the whole city updates instantly. This approach scales extremely well when projects get large. It also makes it easier to create variations, which is critical in film, games, and VFX pipelines. On the other hand, retopology used to be one of the most tedious parts of the 3D workflow. So after sculpting a high-resolution model, for a long time, 3D artists had to manually rebuild clean topology, especially for animation and game engines. This process could take hours or even days, depending on the complexity of the model, and over time, it can get boring for many. Today, many tools include automatic retopology systems that generate clean topology with minimal input. Programs like ZBrush, Blender, and other sculpting tools can analyze the shape of the model and produce animation-ready topology automatically. You can still refine the result, but the heavy lifting is done by the software, saving a massive amount of time. Some interesting software include Topogon, which has been around for many years. If you don't know what that is, it is a standalone software that can get the job done fast. And in Blender, for example, you have many options for add-ons, but the most obvious choice is of course RETOPOLOGY. Also nowadays, we take physically based rendering for granted because it is everywhere. You see, before PBR workflows, every render engine had its own material system. An artist often had to tweak materials constantly to make them look correct under different lighting conditions. But tools like Substance Painter and Substance Designer changed everything by allowing you to paint materials that behave realistically under any lighting condition or lighting setup. So instead of painting textures manually, you can apply smart materials that automatically add wear, scratches, dust, and dirt based on the model's geometry. This might sound like the norm to you, especially right now if you're new to 3D, but just 15 years ago, 3D artists were doing all the texturing work in software such as Photoshop, if you can believe that, creating maps like albedo, normals, ambient, metallic, and so on, drawing them by hand. Also right now, we have more material libraries than ever before, so the bulk of your work is just drag and drop to texture complete environments. On the other hand, UV mapping and packing used to be another time-consuming step in any 3D production. 3D artists had to manually cut seams, unwrap geometry, and arrange UV islands efficiently to avoid wasted texture space. Many people still do that by hand, even today, but the difference now is that you have too many options. Because today, many 3D software include automatic UV unwrapping and packing systems, and specialized add-ons like UV Pack Master can pack UV islands with incredible efficiency, and it can do that with a very strong packing engine that has been improving over the years. So if you're not using this, you are probably missing out. If you think about it, with just few clicks, it can generate clean UV layouts and maximize texture usage. And this allows you as a 3D artist to move quickly to the texturing stage without spending hours managing UV layouts. And one of the biggest time savers today is the existence of huge asset libraries, in addition to kit bashing collections. You see, instead of building every prop or object from scratch, you can access thousands of pre-made assets, and honestly you have everything from rocks to trees to vehicles and all sorts of architectural elements. Kit bashing is especially powerful because you can combine pieces from different assets to quickly create new designs. Environment artists especially often assemble entire scenes using modular assets and then customize them. And as you can imagine, this approach dramatically speeds up production and allows you to focus on composition and create new environments as fast as possible, rather than making every object yourself manually. And there you have it, guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to this channel to receive more videos like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.